I have Jody Baldwin from our office who's going to give the overview for the police budget.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The proposed fiscal year 2023 budget for the police department totals $280 million. As you can see on page 1 of the analysis, the general fund portion of the budget totals $250.3 million and increases by $11.6 million, or 4.9%. The budget increase is primarily due to increased personnel expenses, including new positions, cost of living adjustments, increments in longevities, hiring and referral bonuses, and overtime, offset by an increase in budgeted turnover, as well as lower salaries due to retirements and attrition of higher paid staff. The special fund portion of the budget totals $29.6 million and decreases by $41,000, or 0.1%, due primarily to slightly reduced overall level of new grant funding, partially offset by increased funding for the school bus camera program. On page 2, the pie charts show how the proposed funding will be allocated across types of spending. As you can see, personnel costs represent the largest spending allocation. On page 3, the exhibit identifies the significant increases and decreases from fiscal year 2022 to fiscal year 2023 to the general and special funds. Beginning at the bottom of page 3, the analysis also notes the areas within the budget that support new initiatives or flexibility in terms of the hiring process, where potential reductions could be identified if the council wanted to explore such options. Topics for discussion, which begin on page 4, include personnel, expansion initiatives, patrol vehicles, including the new take-home patrol car pilot program, police reform, special fund grants and programs, and the capital budget and equipment financing package. At this time, I would like to turn it over for discussion.
Any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, Chief Hyde.
Good afternoon, Council Chair and members of the Council. First, I'd like to thank County Executive Olszewski and the administration for their continued support and investment in our Baltimore County Police Department. I'd also sincerely like to express my gratitude to each of you for your partnership and support during my almost 3 years in this role. The Baltimore County Council unquestionably stands out in our region as a governing body that prioritizes public safety. Your continued support has been absolutely instrumental in the work that we have continued to do in providing for safety and security for the communities across Baltimore County. I'd also like to say that I am extremely proud of the work that our members in the department are doing and the daily positive interactions that they continue to have with people across the community. As we continue to move forward together to further our efforts, our needs really remain focused on resources, and that's primarily personnel and equipment. It remains absolutely essential to continue to hire highly skilled employees for our department to fulfill our mission. Funding for the critical positions outlined in our budget will provide significant support for our agency, which will in turn impact our ability to serve the public and the community in a multitude of positive ways. These additions will bolster our current efforts to fight crime, to engage the community, and to provide wellness resources to our employees. I'm going to touch on a few of these positions that we're proposing. The addition of a community liaison, which is a new role for us, will synchronize our engagement across the county and really further our current efforts to build relationships while we're enhancing the existing ones. The new position will coordinate outreach efforts and specialized initiatives from an agency-wide level in close partnership with our precinct commanders. I also intend to utilize this position to assist in establishing community advisory committees to ensure that we have a clear pathway for residents and business owners to communicate with us, to provide feedback and input, and to become stronger partners in the work that we are doing. Our important relationships, combined with the extraordinary work that our patrol officers our detectives, and our forensic investigators are doing are a significant reason why our clearance rate in multiple crime categories continues to be well above the national average. These same relationships, which we value so much, not only help us solve crimes, but they also contribute to our collaborative efforts to prevent them. Another area that I'd like to touch on that I'm extremely proud of is our school resource officer program. And the Baltimore County Police Department was one of the first major law enforcement agencies in the country to establish an SRO program. And since 1997, police departments across the United States have looked to our program as a national model. We all know that it's never too early to start engaging with our young people, and so much of this work occurs every single day inside of our schools. The expansion of the School Resource Officer program is vital. The job of an SRO, we all know, is much more than just taking a police officer and putting them in a school. They work closely with the staff and with the faculty to develop comprehensive safety plans to make sure that schools are safe spaces for children to learn. And as we've seen, the presence of a school resource officer has proven to be extremely effective in reducing the impact of an incident when major safety concerns arise at a school. Our school resource officers are, coaches, mentors, teachers, they're role models to so many students that they serve. And the relationships that students and their school resource officers have are long-lasting and they're effective. And in fact, many of the applicants that are recruited to join our department note that they've had positive experiences with their own SROs when they were in school, which was one of the reasons that they were inspired to join our profession. Speaking of recruiting, I am really grateful to our employment section for continuing to implement creative and innovative strategies to seek qualified applicants during a time when our profession is truly struggling to recruit. In fact, our recruitment team was just featured in an article in officer.com called Creative Recruit Pursuits. And there's a photo of Council Chairman Jones and our recruiters at one of our numerous community hiring events. So I'm really proud of that. The reality is that police departments throughout the country are experiencing challenges with recruitment and retention. And while local law enforcement in our region does a tremendous job collaborating and supporting each other, the reality is that we're also competing for the most qualified candidates. So in addition to offering competitive salaries for new police officers and lateral police officers, departments also need to focus on things like incentives and benefits. The continuation of employment incentives and referral bonuses will help us make sure that we continue to attract the most highly qualified applicants to the Baltimore County Police Department. A benefit that several neighboring agencies offer, but we don't right now, is a take-home car program for patrol officers. I am really excited about the prospect of us beginning to pilot a program of our own. This program would not only aid in our recruitment efforts, but it would also increase the presence of marked police cars in our communities. This year's budget will also provide an opportunity to add additional recruit classes. And historically, our department has held 2 entry-level recruit classes each year. We are seeking to increase that number over the next year in order to retain quality applicants who we sometimes lose to agencies that are offering more frequent classes and to more efficiently fill our vacancies. In addition to progressing and expanding our efforts in recruitment, we're also very focused on data, and we are evolving in our use of it. The department continues to expand our data-driven policing model in conjunction with the administration's public-facing data dashboards. We are currently working diligently to create a suitable workspace for our real-time event center and to be able to expand and enhance the staffing with data scientists to better align with industry standards for the challenging work that they do. An effective data-driven policing strategy relies on skilled specialists to quickly identify emerging patterns and trends in crime. Their proficiency in both data analysis and technical skills ultimately will make us more agile and more efficient in our deployment. Another key component of law enforcement is our ability to collect and examine evidence. And the role of forensics in an investigation and in a subsequent prosecution is something that is often understated and pretty frequently unseen, but their work is absolutely critical to what we do. our forensic services technicians' workload has increased dramatically over the years. In 2021, they had over 4,200 crime scenes that they processed. Now, these additional forensic service technician positions will not only ensure that we can process crime scenes more efficiently and effectively, but they'll also reduce the amount of overtime that's currently being paid to complete this essential work. In addition, our police officers will be freed up to spend more time in the community, and they will spend less time holding and securing crime scenes. Throughout the year, I embrace the opportunity to attend community meetings and events across the county, speaking with residents and business owners. One of the most common concerns that I hear is about speeding and other traffic-related issues. The addition of more radar units and license plate readers will play a crucial role in the overall vehicular and pedestrian safety in communities across our county. While safety and reducing crime will always remain a top priority for us, we also need to evolve to make sure that we're remaining efficient and that we're being organized and using our resources in the best way possible. A new automated subpoena system will track the delivery of summonses and other court documents and will send them directly to our police officers through the use of cell phones and email. This will significantly reduce the amount of paperwork that's currently required and the amount of time that is being spent coordinating court appearances for our members. In April of 2021, the Maryland General Assembly enacted a large package of police accountability bills. The enacted legislation includes requiring the use of body-worn cameras in all Maryland police departments. While I'm pleased to say that our body-worn camera program continues to expand well ahead of the requirements of this newly enacted legislation, all of our sworn members will soon be required to wear body-worn cameras. And just to give you a bit of a gauge, when we looked at October 2020 until October 21, there were over 560,000 body-worn camera recordings that were generated by our officers. And as the number of members that are equipped with body-worn cameras increases, so will those number of recordings. So it's imperative that besides continuing to invest in the actual cameras themselves, that we also invest in the resources that are needed to properly process and store the increased amount of footage. Finally, one of my top priorities since becoming chief remains the health and wellness of our members. We continue to introduce new programs and resources in that area. The addition of a wellness director will make certain that we provide the highest level of services and support to our employees and their families. I know that my time is limited and I want to be able to take questions. So I just want to end by saying how incredibly proud I am of the work that our members are doing on a daily basis throughout Baltimore County. Working for a police department is more than just a job. It requires a full commitment to our mission and to those that we serve. And both our sworn and professional staff members truly care about the work they do, and they care about the communities for whom they do it. These last few years have been difficult for everyone, and they have certainly been difficult for those in law enforcement. Despite the global pandemic and its impact on the workforce, the members of your police department kept showing up to work every day. They were here and they were ready to serve, despite the personal risks and despite the challenges that their own families were dealing with. And as each of you already know, our police officers care immensely about what they do, and they take tremendous pride in keeping our neighborhoods safe while continuing to build public trust. We are extremely fortunate to have such dedicated individuals working on behalf of our county. These investments in our agency will ensure that we are able to continue to provide an exceptional level of service to each person who lives, works, or visits Baltimore County. I want to again thank County Executive Olszewski, the administration, and the members of the council for your continued support of our Baltimore County Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Hyatt. We certainly appreciate your service and all the service on the police members or members of the police department. Are there any questions or comments on the member? Yes, Councilman Marks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and Chief Hyatt, thank you very much for your presentation. Public safety is the most fundamental responsibility of local government. And I appreciate all that you do and all our police officers do. One of the things we keep hearing about is that take-home cars would be a very powerful incentive tool. I know the county executive put money in this budget for a pilot program. I was wondering if you could briefly discuss that and how we're going to determine who will get those take-home cars, but also the implications of making this a larger program. For example, do we know how many police officers live in Baltimore County versus Pennsylvania, Harford County, Carroll County, et cetera? So if you can talk about that, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I'll start by talking about our take-home vehicle program. And we are currently still working on what the policies would look like for that. But overall, what we would be looking at is a pilot of 20 vehicles, which would be 2 assigned to members in each of our precincts. And in terms of selection for those positions, these are going to be officers that are in patrol that are interested in this. Certainly some officers may not be interested in having a marked patrol vehicle at their home. They will need to also be selected and approved by their precinct commander. And obviously they'll need to reside in Baltimore County. So our hope with this is, of course, that we end up with additional vehicles in Baltimore County in our neighborhoods, which we know has been successful elsewhere. Now, before we look at doing something like this as a full police department rollout, first of all, we know it's extremely costly and there are a lot of benefits, but we want to make sure that frankly, that the juice is worth the squeeze, that the increased visibility, the benefits that we get from recruitment or retention, drawing people to want to remain in patrol, that we start to see some of those things. We don't expect to see anything right away with this. We know it's going to take a little bit of time, but that's part of the reason why we would be, looking to implement this as a pilot.
Okay, I understand. We're one of the few jurisdictions that does not do this, correct, right now?
Yes, we are. And right now, Maryland State Police is doing it. Harford County Sheriffs, I may be missing some. Howard County, Anne Arundel County, Montgomery County, Carroll County Sheriffs, and Bel Air, I know are doing it, but I'm not certain about some others that I might be missing.
Okay, I
And they are
understand.
seeing it. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. And they are seeing it as a significant recruitment tool. And some of the lateral officers from our department that have gone elsewhere upon exit interviews have said that is something that attracts them.
Yeah, I know that's important. I know healthcare costs come up a lot, but this is something I'm really happy we at least have that pilot program, and hopefully it'll be successful and we can have broader implementation. The only other question I had for right now, our homicide rate this year, where do we stand this year?
So right now we are sitting at 11 homicides for the year. I am really pleased to say right now that that's over 60% decrease from last year at this time. It's last year was a really difficult year for us. When we look at some of the incidents that we had last year, about 20% of our homicide victims died as a result of behavioral health related incidents. Another almost 20% died as a result of either domestic violence or family members that took each other's life. We lost 15% from arguments that continue to escalate, and over half of our homicides last year occurred inside. Plus, we had 2 multi-victim casualty events, and so it just was really a difficult year for us.
Okay, very good. Closely aligned with this. And that is great. I mean, look, every homicide is unfortunate. I don't want to diminish that at all, but clearly the trend is better than it was last year, and that's positive. The morale of the department, how would you say the morale is right now?
I don't think that we are dissimilar from other police departments across the nation right now. When I just read an article that one of the national law enforcement syndicates had released discussing the fact that retirements and resignations with large agencies are up, and I can't remember what the percentage was, but it was like 40%. So it's significant. And when we look at some of the things that have impacted our profession over the last few years, you know, everything from the pandemic to police reform legislation, national events, it's been very difficult. That's one of the reasons why we're so focused on officer wellness. We're focused on things like this take-home pilot program and anything else that, you know, tries to make this job a little bit easier for our folks that are out there every day putting their lives on the line.
Absolutely. It's one of the most difficult professions, and just speaking for myself, very proud of all the work that our police officers are doing. So thank you very much for your answers.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Councilman Quirk.
Thank you, Chairman Jones, and good afternoon, Chief. I know it's coming up in one of the audit questions as well, but I mean, clearly, and I know you talked briefly about this with Councilman Marks as well, but we have some pretty significant vacancies. I know we all know that. I know it's not a surprise, but it's definitely, I think, a area of big concern with the County Council, and I'm sure you're wrestling with this issue quite a bit. And then also, as you just mentioned with Councilman Marks too, is some of the significant retirements that we have going on with the police. Some people in very senior positions, a lot of really key people that have strong institutional knowledge and experience. And so obviously it's a concern that, you know, we have people that are coming up through the system, and as much experience and knowledge base we can retain, even if we have pretty significant retirements. And you know, it's so important. I mean, public safety, can we not get a more important department in the county than protecting our citizens and keeping the public safe with the work that our police do day in and day out? So that's really my biggest concern and question to you, is what I think is a very significant issue with the really high amount of vacancies and some real key retirements and some of the experience that we need. Unfortunately, we have some retirements and the vacancies. So, and I know it's an audit question, but I figured I'd definitely you know, address that with a question as well. So thank you, Chief.
Absolutely, sir. So look, you know, we don't like to lose institutional knowledge because it's a tremendous value to our agency. But I will say that there is a tremendous amount of talent in our agency. And as we continue to promote younger folks into leadership roles, I continue to see the energy and talent that's coming with that. So I know as we lose levels of expertise, we continue to develop it. When we look at our vacancies, and obviously I'd like to have all of our vacancies filled, the majority of our vacancies, we have a large number of civilian vacancies that are comprised of, I think it's close to like 97 school crossing guards and like roughly 22 or 23 cadet vacancies. So that's a significant portion of that number. But, you know, there's also the reality that the hiring freeze that occurred in the 90s and then the mass hiring that followed that puts us in a position where we have a lot of folks that are approaching those 30 years. And some of the circumstances surrounding our profession right now are making people make the decision that may have stayed for an extra couple of years that they may choose not to. But we continue to do a lot of work, very proactive work with employment. And as I spoke about the work that our employment section is doing, they're not sitting back on their haunches. They're being incredibly proactive. We do plan to do everything possible to launch an additional entry-level class to continue to do work out in the communities to recruit. And I feel confident that as some of these retirements level off, and as we continue to do the proactive efforts on recruiting and hiring, that we will get ahead of this. And, you know, some of it's going to take a little bit of time, and, you know, we're just going to have to continue to work at it. But I do feel very comfortable with some of the folks that are the up-and-comers in the agency. And I think that the future of our agency is going to be in great hands in terms of experience.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Any additional questions or comments from the members?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Councilman Cranston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief, thanks for coming into our hearing today, and we really appreciate all that you do and all that our men and women in blue do in their service to the citizens of Baltimore County. It's really a stellar agency, and you said, I think you used the word pride at least 4 times, if not more, in your presentation, and I think you have every right to use that word as much as you want. I do thank my colleagues, Councilman Quirk and Councilman Marks, for touching on some of the bigger issues of the day that affect things countywide. But I want to drill down into something more district specific to my district and Councilman Quirk's district. And I see that, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that Director Walker is attending this hearing as well, which is good, because when I bring up this topic, she's probably going to be like, man, I hope that Chief Hyatt can answer this question so Councilman Crandall stops emailing me about it. And that is the implementation of the illegal truck camera enforcement program. I've seen one camera so far. I believe it's a camera placed on Wise Avenue in Dundalk, but I haven't gotten word as to what the implementation schedule is, or that's something that we even want to announce. But just wondering where we are on the implementation, and when we can start to expect this to be implemented, because my constituents are still very concerned about the amount of illegal truck traffic going on. And of course, we're in such close proximity to the Port of Baltimore, and of course, Trade Point Atlantic is just doing nothing but growing, which is great. However, it comes with a cost, and that cost is increased truck traffic. So, Chief, can you address that question at all today?
I sure will, and I'm glad that Director Walker's on in case I have anything that's not completely accurate. But thank you for that question, and we recognize the concerns with commercial truck traffic. That's something that, again, we hear about consistently. So Senate Bill 41 allows the county to implement vehicle height monitoring systems to address high volumes of commercial vehicle or commercial truck traffic. And there is a meeting that's actually due to happen next week on the next steps for the legislative process, which would ultimately have to be adopted and implemented in Baltimore County. Once that were to happen, then the procurement process would begin. And I do know, in reference to the work group, that there have been some recommendations on locations. And I don't want to speak on behalf of Director Walker since she's on, and I know that they're spearheading this, but I do know that 5 of the camera locations that were conveyed to me are located in Dundalk. So I think you're and obviously you know better than me, but your point on with some of the locations and some of the concerns. So we will have a better follow-up next week after that meeting occurs.
Okay, so I guess I was under the assumption that we were much further along than having not even procured the cameras.
So I'll tell you that this is the most recent update that I have, and I will get another update after this. But when I inquired about it recently, that's what I was told. Okay.
Well, I don't want to belabor the point since it is so district specific. So maybe I'll wait until after that meeting, and hopefully you or Director Walker can bring me into the loop on where we are.
Absolutely, sir. And Director Walker and I will speak after this. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Any additional questions or comments from the members?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Councilman Bacoka.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mr. Chair. Have a question about the take-home cars and also the cameras and speeding. On the take-home cars, I think it's a benefit, but it's also can be used as a tool, especially with I think uptick would be an understatement in terms of speeders in Baltimore County and the region. There's been a dramatic increase, I think, post-pandemic of speeding. And I noticed in my district, there are take-home cars from other jurisdictions. And I'll just use an example. One is a Carroll County Sheriff's car it's tucked in a driveway and with its rear to the road. And a few houses down is a state trooper's car, and it's parked on the street. And so there is a reflex, even though I don't believe that I'm exceeding the speed limit, there is a reflex when I see the state trooper's car to just, make sure to double check that I'm going the speed limit, even though there's no one in the car, but that trooper, he or she has decided to park it on the street. Conversely, the Carroll County Sheriff's car that's parked front end into the driveway, it's not really a tool in any way to discourage speeding. And I was just wondering if the take-home cars, and I understand the reason for take-home cars, could they also be used as a tool? Like maybe some of the guidelines are, park it on the road and discourage folks from speeding, rather than the example I used with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, that, it seems like that person, that vehicle is just in for the evening. Is that something you think about, or is that something that is worth thinking about?
So, and it's a great thought, and I will tell you, we've had conversations about how to utilize these vehicles for maximum visibility. And, part of the point of this, while it's a great recruitment tool and incentive for people who live in Baltimore County and patrol, but the reality is we also want to make sure that we're getting that visibility incentive, that we're enhancing our police presence. And so as we continue to work through the policies for take-home cars, that's certainly something that we'll raise to the group. But I don't disagree with you in terms of needing to make sure that they're as visible as possible.
Yeah, I think that creates an additional tool to fight the rampant speeding that's going on, not just in Baltimore County, but throughout the region. Secondly, I think it's a great investment on the cameras and the tag readers, especially because, I'm really proud. I really take great pride in the Baltimore region, Baltimore County, but I think we could do a lot better in terms of our driving behavior. It's really atrocious, and every community meeting I go to, without exception, there's a robust discussion related to speeding, and especially post-pandemic, that there was, not just speeding, but also drag racing. It's really dangerous out there. And so I think that's a great idea, and I appreciate that being in your budget request for this year. So that's it. Thank you, Chief. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I need to clear something up.
Go ahead.
So, Chief and Director Walker, if you're listening, I misspoke when, I made a bad assumption that we were further along on the traffic height monitoring program. I was just looking through emails, and Director Walker had said that very clearly in her email that meetings will be scheduled after budget hearings. So, Chief, I think you were fairly accurate in what you told us. Now, I guess my criticism of the thing, even though I'm very pleased that the program is moving forward and that there is a plan in place, that email that Director Walker sent me was February 11th. And it just seems like this is taking an awful long time to get moving. And I do understand that we had to wait a year for enabling legislation for the General Assembly to pull it together. So my impatience with this program sort of stems from a few years ago when we started working on this, and it just feels like we haven't made a whole lot of progress. But again, I am thankful that there is a plan in place. It was articulated to me. In all honesty, I just forgot. So forgive me for my bad assumption there.
Well, and Councilman, just one thing that I should have added, that camera that you saw on Wise Avenue was actually part of the pilot program that was utilized for research. So that's where that came from.
That is one of the assumptions I made, that it actually was a true assumption. So yeah, thank you for that, because as we get questions as far as what that thing is, I knew what it was because I've seen the ones that have been installed in Baltimore City, and it looks very similar to those units in Baltimore City. But it's good to have that verification that that's what it is, and that does show our constituents at least some level of progress.
Yes, sir. And we'll get a follow up to you after, I think it's the 15th. We'll get a follow up to you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilman Crandall. Chief, I have a couple of questions. I guess I'm looking at the budget and I'm looking at all the things that are being asked for and requested. And we're certainly very supportive of the police, and we want to make sure that the police department has all the skills and all the equipment that they need to keep us safe. But if I were to ask you, what is like the top 2 or 3 items that are new in this budget in terms of protecting the citizens of Baltimore County? What are maybe the top 2 or 3, let's say the top 2 items of importance?
And I'm sorry, sir, did you say that are new?
Well, new things. We're not talking about, we're talking about new programs or new positions. What are the top 2 things in terms of keeping the citizens safe?
Okay. So, one of them certainly is going to be our building of our data-driven policing. And these data scientists that we're looking to bring in are going to allow us to utilize our resources in a very different way. For many years, law enforcement has not had the ability to be as agile as what we see in some police departments, which is that they have such an exceptional use of data that they're able to very rapidly make adjustments as needed. The other thing that I think is probably most significant is our training facility. While we've been really fortunate to have use of the community college, and we have various churches and other places that allow us to do some training there, the size of our training academy classes is limited. The amount of specialized training we're able to do is limited. We can't overlap entry-level classes because we simply don't have the space. And, even when I speak to our employment section, there are times that we would have the ability to bring on more people. We simply don't have the space to do it. And I think in terms of filling those empty seats, that's a significant factor.
Okay, now I guess that's where I don't, I guess I'm trying to figure it out for myself, because I looked at the list and I was thinking, what is the most important thing? And I was thinking, putting officers on the street and making arrests. And I guess I look at like the 8 additional data scientists, and I'm thinking, are they arresting anybody? Like, I'm looking at the cost of the data scientists, and I'm thinking in my mind, morale, more police officers, hiring. Why wouldn't that money be earmarked towards buying more police cars, giving more take-home cars? 20 out of 1,600 or 1,800 officers doesn't seem like an awful lot. Yet we're going to hire 8 data scientists, and I'm just thinking to myself, how many arrests are they going to make? How am I going to feel better riding down my street knowing that there's 8 more data scientists versus a police car parked in somebody's driveway? I guess, am I getting it all wrong? I'm looking at it wrong?
So, to put it simply, I think they're all important, but I will tell you from my perspective, I want to know that our county is so big that we're never going to per se have enough police officers to be every single place we need them to be when we need them to be there. So the reality is, by using the work that these data scientists are able to develop. And most large police departments have been utilizing these resources, have had a real-time event center, these types of things they've been using for years and years. We're able to utilize our limited resources more efficiently to make sure that we're in the right places when we need to be there, to make sure that we're not waiting for delayed periods of time or crime patterns and trends that are allowed to develop and fester before we readjust deployment to get ahead of them. They're able to assist us with basic problems that we're working to solve in the community, whether it's something about traffic safety or, burglary issues or certain other conditions. They're really able to help us. We're trying to move towards a model of, data-driven policing, of problem-oriented policing, where we're working in conjunction with the community to do things in a more, evolved way. And our officers do a great job. But the reality is, for our officers, for our commanders, they can only do the best job they can with the information that they get. And we want to be able to provide them with better, more updated information. It's that whole concept of putting our police officers in the right place at the right time. And what we've seen since we've started to utilize this real-time event center concept is some of the materials that they've been able to develop have been very useful for our deployment. And in fact, with some of the summer deployment that we're working on, looking at areas where we really need to make sure that we focus on resources, these things are really important. So it's really not one or the other. It's us making sure that we can do both to do it smarter.
Okay, so I guess, we're not a very small police department, right? I mean, you're like the 23rd largest police department in the country. So I'm thinking to myself, how many of these data scientists or data analysis or crime, I forget the name of them, how many of them do we have now? We need 8 more. That seems like a big jump. And what I'm thinking, to your point about being able to respond more quickly, I'm thinking of what you get if you have a police officer sitting in his home, watching his television, and just happen to be listening to the radio, and there's an officer down the street that needs assistance. That officer can put his sandwich down, jump in his car, and respond and back that officer up before somebody else get there. And I'm just thinking, what does the data scientist do for us? It seems to me like, how many do we have now? Let's start there.
So moving towards data scientists is a progression from where we are with our current analysts. And just to clarify one piece, this take-home car pilot, if an officer is coming or going to work, or maybe they're driving past an incident that they hear on the radio, there will be circumstances that they will be compelled to engage. But if they're sitting at home eating their sandwich, they're not going to be putting their uniform on and going back on duty. So I think that there are really a lot of benefits to the take-home pilot program, but I don't see that as a panacea. We probably about 6 months ago, we applied for a grant with Department of Justice, their Collaborative Reform Initiative, and it was their Technical Assistance Center. And they sent in national experts. They came in, they looked at what we were doing with data, with analytics, and they actually recommended that we needed 30 plus data scientists to be able to do what we needed to do, analysts and data scientists. Right now, for folks with that level of expertise, we simply don't have any. And I know that there was another study, the efficiency study, that said that we needed at least 5 more. But these folks from the Department of Justice go around the country doing these assessments, and they're actually helping us build our capacity. So, it's really, they will enhance the ability of our officers. They will enhance our crime plans, and they're going to do a lot of research to make our jobs easier. And I think at the end of the day, we'll get a better product out of the work that is being directed from our leadership.
Okay. I guess one of the other questions I had that I was thinking was a community coordinator. So having been in office for some time, and I noticed we have a community liaison that do an excellent job of working with the community. We have the captains, we have the officers in the precinct that do an excellent job communicating with the community. And I'm wondering to myself, are we adding another layer between these officers and the community? Why is that necessary that we have a community liaison or coordinator when these officers do that job today?
And our officers do the job well, and our precinct captains do a great job engaging in the community. So all of those things happen, but they happen in all these separate bubbles across the county. What we're really looking to do is to build a platform across the agency, not to stifle any of the great work that they're doing, because I will tell you, and we've been at plenty of events together where they're incredibly creative, and our officers just do outstanding work. But there are also spaces where, you know, I am very interested in building advisory groups, figuring out ways to pull the community, to pull businesses into, you know, having the ability to spend more time together, to be able to offer, you know, feedback and perspective on everything from, you know, policies or initiatives that we're considering, ways to get their input in things in a very different way, in a way that again, most large agencies are already doing. And that's one of the things that this individual would be tasked with. And again, while each of our precincts is doing a great job, I need to make sure that the really great practices are getting shared across the precincts, so that way we can make sure that all of the good things are being done in all 10 precincts.
So what job is the community relations doing? I mean, every precinct has a community relations a group with citizens come in and assist the police and talk to the police. And I know they do the police appreciation days and buy lunch and they do all these things. So I guess I'm thinking to myself, like, isn't that what they do?
It's two really separate functions, and our police community relations councils are great. You know, we meet with them frequently. They do a lot to support us. Police advisory groups would be everything from, you know, a youth advisory group to, you know, different demographic advisory groups, to faith-based advisory groups, different entities that have very different perspectives that we need to be able to sit and have conversation with on a regular basis. And I know from previous experience when I was very involved in advisory groups in another organization that it was very successful on the day-to-day. It helped us really build relationships. It helped us manage issues before they manifested. And when there was a critical incident or something that happened, it gave us a group of people that we could have conversations with first, and we could really bring in and get their perspective.
I guess, you know, I guess the thing for me is, you know, I give you a perfect example, and I guess maybe I'm getting it all wrong. I've had an incident the other day. It happened a couple of times at the Metro Center. And first, these folks show up on Wrightstown Road. They're doing these donuts. They're doing all these terrible things, and you know, could get themselves hurt. The owner of the property put up barriers to stop them from coming there. They move to the Metro Center. They go up on the top floor of the parking garage, and there's all kind of donuts and everything. There's only 2 entrances to the parking garage. They call the police, and the police officer said, first, the police don't want to come because I guess they're too busy. And then when one does come, he says, I can't do anything about it. There's too many of them and there's only one of me. And I guess I hear that story. And then I know we have a new captain at Franklin. I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet. We have something set up. But I hear that story. And then we stand here and we're talking about a lot of services. And I hear more about services than where the rubber hits the road. And I guess that's the part that confuses me the most. We're investing in services. We're investing in new data analysts. We're investing in community coordinator. We're investing in all of these services and less operation. I guess that's the part, if I wanted to split the two, there's services, then there's operation. And I know you have regular meetings weekly with the captains. They all come there to headquarters and you all talk with your data staff and your crime staff. And I'm just wondering, why do we need all these other things and not focusing more on where the rubber hits the road? which is, in my opinion, officers on the street, take-home cars, things that will give us in my opinion, a bigger bang for the buck. But I'm just a firefighter dressed up as a councilman trying to figure it all out.
Well, we're very focused on where the rubber meets the road. That's why we're putting so many efforts into everything that we're doing with recruitment and training. Our training team, minus the limitations that they have due to space, does an extraordinary job. It's some of the best training I've ever seen. As for our deployments, the reality is right now, I could request a bunch of more sworn positions, but we need to continue to do the work to fill the ones that we have. It's critically important, and I think as our profession continues to move forward, to make sure that we're not just doing things the way that we've always done them, to make sure that we're making decisions that are based on data. And, that's one of the things that I think this entire administration, I've really appreciated, that it's been data-driven decision-making. And a lot of police officers, traditionally are reluctant to move in that direction. But once they begin to do it and they see the benefits of it, they understand just how useful it is. And, this is simply a change, but this doesn't change the fact that we are very focused on deployment. We're very focused on our folks being out there. And I think when we look at our clearance rates, I think when we look at the amount of times that our folks are exactly where we need them to be when there's an incident either occurring or unfolding or they're preventing it, they're clicking the cylinders with that. And we just need to continue to recruit and fill those empty seats. One of the things that I just said the other day in service to, a group of about 50 officers is, when I first came in here, I said that my focus was going to be on patrol and operations in terms of filling vacancies, and that hasn't changed. So we're very focused on that part of it. We're very focused on, reducing crime, eliminating crime, preventing crime, and clearing crime. But I can't lose sight of some of these other pieces from 30,000 feet, because this is how we're going to be more efficient and effective.
Okay, I'm going to thank you, Chief. I'm going to yield to Councilman Katz. Did you have something?
Yes, I did. I had a question for you.
Me?
Okay. Yes, you.
Oh, go right ahead.
Okay. I was wondering with the Metro Center, with the issue you just spoke about, how many people were involved in the incident on the top level of the garage? Do you know?
They showed me pictures. I'm going to say, I don't know, it could have been somewhere around maybe 60 people, maybe. They showed me pictures of the cars spinning around and a bunch of other cars there, and I'm guessing maybe 50, 60 people.
Do you know, did the officer call for backup?
That I don't know. What I know is the officer said it was too many of them and only one of him, and that was the end of that. And that's what was conveyed to me. It's all hearsay.
Right.
I've set up a meeting with them and the captain, or the captain's going to meet with them to discuss other things, because some of the issues there is a parking garage, and if one of these cars go out of control, they hit a structural member, you may be able to bring the garage down, or maybe the car goes off the top and hit some pedestrian walking past. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
and also, we don't know when the report came out how they described what was going on. If was it 5 people or 50 people? But you're saying it was a large group. I'd be interested when you find out if he or she called for backup. I think that's important. And then the call that came in, was it one that was accurately describing the situation? And as I read the report from the audit office, the one thing that hit me is I was very happy with the new programs. I mean, I really was, but the need to fill vacancies. And, I hope that the situation you described, that it wasn't because of a lack of officers or vacancies that caused this situation. And so if you don't mind, when you get, and I just would like to know what happened, because and how the police are going to make sure that this does not happen again. I'd appreciate it.
No,
So, Council, thanks. So thanks for that question. Well, to begin with, obviously, I'll be looking into that incident because I'd like to know about it myself. There should never be an incident that occurs that we don't have the ability to reallocate resources. This is where we're fortunate as a large agency, despite dealing with some shortages, that we have the ability, when necessary, to reallocate resources. And you know, as it's pertained to some of these vehicular issues, we are working on a regional level with other police departments. And obviously, this is something that I need to know information about myself, but I will provide a follow-up on that. But what I can assure you is the vacancies that we're carrying would not impact an incident where we were unable to draw supplemental resources.
I'm not sure. Am I sharing the screen?
You sure are. Wow, this is
So I don't know how many people are there.
yeah. This is
But
yeah.
here they are doing donuts. And listen, at the end of the day, I understand that this is trash, right? But I also know that at some point, in order to maintain a level of control, we have to let people know that certain behaviors can't be tolerated, or else they'll, today they're doing this, tomorrow they'll be doing something else. And I know that there's only 2 entrances to the parking garage. So I'm not going to spend too much time with that, Chief.
Right.
I showed it to you all, and we can talk about that later. But let me see. Okay, with that, Larry?
Councilman, if I
you.
could jump in for a second. When we've had any of these car groups attempt to really set up in Baltimore County, our folks have done an extraordinary job pushing them out. This is the first I've heard of this incident, so obviously I'll be researching it. But our folks, even in other jurisdictions, know that we're on top of it. We utilize incident management team model to manage these issues. And I think the way that our police officers resolve incidents, arrest people, and the cases get prosecuted, when we do have incidents that they do demonstrate that they do not tolerate that behavior. So again, we'll look into this one. And I don't know what happened here, so I can't speak about it. But I think overwhelmingly, our police officers do an extraordinary job not tolerating behavior like that.
Okay. Well, listen. I'm sure we'll look into that and figure it out. But I do know that it wasn't long ago that someone was doing smash and grab, and they went there, and there was a couple of stores at the Metro Center that they bashed the window in and took the cash register, and off they go. I guess for me, I'm not going to spend too much time, but I did have some concern, to be quite frank, with the number of additional positions in service. While we're doing the pilot program, which I support in terms of the take-home cars, and from my math, it looks like each car is about 50,000 apiece. Is that my calculation? 20 cars at $1 million. I think I've seen that.
I believe it's 1.3 when they're fully outfitted with everything that needs to go in them.
Okay, I guess what I'm thinking is, so let's, on the take-home cars, what is the metrics? This is a pilot program. What will tell us whether it was a good idea, bad idea? Are we going to revisit it in a year? What will tell us whether or not this is good or bad?
So we know for certain that we're not going to know anything in a short period of time, that it's going to take at least a year for us to determine what the worth is in this program. And it'll probably take longer than that. Some of this is going to be conversations that we're having with other jurisdictions to look at some of the benefits that they've seen, so that way we have something that's measurable. We do know just from speaking to our own officers, exit interviews, that there is value, and as a draw, a take-home vehicle is something that draws people in and does have an impact. We've also had community input about people wanting to see more police cars in their neighborhood, and this is a way to do it. I would not feel comfortable doing more than a pilot program right now. I would feel that it was financially irresponsible with the money of the taxpayers, not knowing what will come of this. I think that it's going to be successful, but I wouldn't want to be sitting here asking for, cars to outfit every police officer, because I think that we need to do our due diligence. We need to make sure that this program is established and that it's responsible and that we're getting the benefit that we want. And, Councilman's comments in regards to the vehicle being parked on the street and being able to manage some of the concerns in the community as it pertains to driving safety. Those are some of the things that we want to see if we're able to get some benefit from.
Right. And I guess a couple of things that I have in mind is it's interesting. I think I don't know what the metrics will be, but I think most of us can figure out the benefits of the take-home program, right? It's going to help with recruiting. It's going to help with visibility. And hopefully it's going to make people feel safer in the communities that they live when the police officer lives there. So that's the first thing. Other things, I think other jurisdictions have been doing it for an awful long time. So we can ask them what they think the benefits are. I just find it interesting that we're going to add 8 data scientists, and yet we're going to do 20 cars. And to me, and it's your decision, it's the county executive decision, but to me, I just think maybe money would be better spent where the rubber hits the road with additional take-home cars to get more officers on the street. Now, the analogy I used earlier today, I realize no police officer is going to put a sandwich down and put on his uniform. But if an officer is down the street from his or her house and they're screaming on the radio and saying that they really have a situation there and they need help, and maybe it's a day where other officers are sitting in court, I would hope that that officer would care enough about backing the other officer up where he would put his sandwich down, he or she, and go back the officer up in extenuating circumstances. Not every day, not as part of a normal routine, but if the officer's on his way to the supermarket to pick up some groceries and there's somebody blows past him at 100 miles an hour, okay, we'll pay you a few dollars overtime, turn around, give that person a ticket, stop him from hurting himself or someone else. So that's where I am. I know we got a long way to go and we're behind track, but I thank you for your comments and I thank you for all you do. And we certainly appreciate all the work you do, as well as all the men and women of the police department who keep us safe. I just want to make sure that, as you said, that we are spending our money wisely and that we're doing the things that's going to keep our citizens safe. And to me, I guess question some of these additional positions when I think probably one of the biggest things for our park right now is going to be probably giving more take-home cars, helping with recruitment, getting more officers on the street, increasing our capability. Because even the data analysis is good, but if you can't do the operations,
Mr. Chair, quick question on the analysts for the chief. So in the instance that you described of the folks, the people meeting on the garage roof and also certainly throughout the county, we've seen very organized gatherings related to road racing and car parades and other things like that. Would these analysts be surveilling social media to try to understand where where there is going to be a meetup to try to stop it before it actually happens? Is that a role of the analysts, or are they just crunching data of some other type?
They're utilizing both data and information, and probably a great example, Councilman Jones brought up in reference to some of the smash and grabs that we're having and that we had been having, and we made some arrests in those cases. We had our current analysts do some work to assist with that. They take information, whether it's intelligence or it's numbers, and they put it together in a way that they can provide us guidance on how we can best deploy. As it pertains to those car groups, that's being done really regionally right now because, again, a lot of these vehicle groups aren't staying in one jurisdiction. They're crossing lines. But, I would say there is without question, Councilman Jones, value in hopefully this take-home pilot being something that we're proud of and we wish to continue and expand. But when I look at parking vehicles in 10 blocks or 20 different blocks across the county with 20 take-home cars versus what the value is that we'll get from our analysts who will have the ability to provide tools for us to use in every block across the county to impact safety in all 10 precincts across the board. I just think that we're going to see a tremendous value. And again, I know that they're not sworn police officers, but the work that they do, they make us exponentially more effective. And, I would really be looking forward to implementing that here.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just a very quick question. Chief, is your office utilizing interviewing the officers and to find out some things that they think that they're going to need to do a better job, or support that they're not getting that they're going to need? There's nothing worse than a group of demoralized people because what they talk about to others is not very positive, and it does discourage people from wanting to join a police force. And, I know that the system could learn so much from officers that are on duty today, and also from those who are retiring. So please try to utilize that strategy. I think you can learn a lot from it.
And Councilman, yes, absolutely. We do exit interviews with employees that are seeking employment elsewhere. I also have a feedback email address that a lot of our officers utilize about things they need or suggestions that they have. A supervisor in the department has created a feedback group that they sent out something across the agency to see who was interested in participating in it, and is getting feedback in reference to some of the very things you're talking about, as well as some different listening sessions that we've had. So I think that you're absolutely right. Look, at the end of the day, our employees are by far our most valuable resource. And this is a really difficult time to be a police officer. In my 25 years in this profession, this is by far the most difficult time. And we want to do the things that we can to make this job less stressful for them, to make it easier for them to stay healthy and to stay happy. And, that's not always very easy to do, but we're continuing to try to do these things and to take their input to try to continue to make improvements.
Yeah, and it must be made clear that there'll be no repercussions for what is said. So, I know with teaching, they do that. A terrible problem there, just like we do here. And these are this has got to be a learning situation. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chief, I'm gonna close out, or at least give my other members one more thing, but I wanted to show one additional thing because I don't think it's fair that I spent so much time talking about the data science. But the point I was making was, here's a list of the new items in the police department, the increase. 8 data science, $760,000. That's $95,000 apiece. 6 forensic services technicians, $287,000. That could be another 5 cars. And then we come down the list. Business intelligence report writers, $192,000. Additional 4 cars. And unmanned aerial systems program administrator. So I take it we're going to buy some drones. And this is going to be an administrator of the drone fleet. Wellness director, $125,000. Statistical supervisor, $105,000. This is all new stuff. This is all new positions, not positions that exist today in the 23rd largest police department in the country. So I guess that's enough just to sort of bring the point home. Are we going to buy drones?
So if I can touch on 2 things, sir. The first thing is those forensics technicians, right now, we don't have enough to serve the county. And we have to then place them into a restricted mode, which means that there are times that we have to pull our police officers out of service to maintain crime scenes until they can process them. So by bringing on additional technicians gives us the ability to keep our officers in service more. So it really does have a direct impact. When we look at police departments across the region, we are actually one of the few that aren't utilizing UAS or drones for things like crash scenes and other crime scenes. And in fact, just a recent look, Maryland State Police, Howard County, Anne Arundel County, Carroll County, Harford County, Prince George's County, Montgomery County, Cecil, Calvert, Charles, St. Mary's, Frederick, Maryland Transportation Authority, and Maryland Transit Administration have actually all been utilizing them for several years. And when we have a large scene, we've had to get assistance from them in the past. The reason why there would be an administrator is because I don't take something like this lightly in terms of the public concerns with something like that. And it needs to be a very well-managed program with a lot of accountability and oversight.
Okay, thank you very much. Any additional questions or comments from the member? All right, Chief, again, we thank you. We thank your staff, and we certainly are very appreciative of all the men and women of the police department who continue to make us safe. And I thank you very much for spending the afternoon.
Thank you very much. Take
Sure.
care.
Sure. Chris?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Are we, let me see, who do we have? Let me see.
We have CCDC next, and I believe everyone from CCDC is on the WebEx. Ms. Hop is on.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, yeah, I just, I have a longstanding commitment that I need, so I'll need to leave around 3:45. And so, yeah, I'm sorry, but nothing I can do about it. So I just wanted everyone to know.
Thank you, Councilman Katz. We'll do our best to see if we can get as close to 4 o'clock to finish as we can. I know we're a little behind, not sure if that can work, but we'll certainly do our best. We'll miss you.
Thank you. And I'm sure you'll feel, well, yeah, it'll be a problem with me going. I realize that, but
Well, of course it'd be a
Carry on.
problem because I need my wingman, and my wingman is telling me he has somewhere else to go. But I understand. Or I'm your wingman.
oh yeah, of course, yeah.
All right. So, Lauren?
I have Mike Walther from my office who will give the overview of the college's budget.
Thank you, Lauren. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
The proposed fiscal year 2023 budget for CCBC totals $296.7 million, an increase of $39.1 million or 15.2% over the FY 2022 budget as adopted. The general fund portion of the budget totals $78.0 million, an increase of $4.8 million or 6.5%, primarily due to personnel expenses for existing staff, including the COLA and salary steps and increments. The special fund portion of the budget totals $218.7 million, an increase of $34.3 million or 18.6%, primarily due to American Rescue Plan Act funding, fully funded state aid via the CAID funding formula, and anticipated additional federal direct lending for students. On page 5, our analysis notes areas within the budget that support new initiatives or provide flexibility in terms of additional external funding, primarily state aid and federal stimulus funding. Because of this flexibility, we note that potential reductions could be identified up to but not exceeding the $4.9 million over maintenance of effort amount, should the council want to explore such options. Other discussion topics follow in the budget package beginning on page 6, where we first present CCBC's federal COVID-19 stimulus funding and expenditures of such funds. The analysis also presents a look at how CCBC plans to allocate its enhanced state aid, discusses CCBC's current staffing outlook, and provides updates on the College Promise Program, early college high schools, enrollment, tuition and fees, the college's rainy day fund, collaboration with the county's Department of Economic and Workforce Development, and capital projects. At this time, I would like to turn it over for discussion.
Okay, well, we thank you very much. And any questions, comments from the members before we move through the... All right, well, I guess we'll go with Dr. Kirkinitis.
Well, hello. We're so pleased to be with you this afternoon. And I have to say, we look forward to the day, maybe a year from now, when we can all be together again. But thank you for giving us this opportunity. With me are, we're in our boardroom on the Essex campus. So with me, our board chair, J.D. Urbach, whom most of you know. The 4 vice presidents are here. And our Melissa Hopp will be on the screen. And we have some of our finance staff and our IT staff, but we are here and ready to answer questions. But before we do, if I could just make this statement, and then I'd like to ask our board chair to join in. We know we've all had another challenging year, but the truth is that this year for us is ending on a really positive note. You just heard from the auditor a couple of the high spots that kind of have us excited about ending this year and moving into next year. Certainly the fully funded CAID formula after 26 years is a real treat, but also the county executive's strong fiscal platform for the community college, which of course we hope that you will endorse and support. And it really has been, it's just been wonderful that as the auditor and her team looked very closely at all of our budget items, that they have recommended no reductions. And before I ask the chair to speak, I want to just mention one other thing. You may have read this in the message that I sent, but something extra special happened for CCBC this spring, and that is we had our 10-year Middle States reaccreditation evaluation. And the wonderful thing about that is the visiting team came and went, and they made just really an astonishingly strong statement about our college. No, essentially no requirements, no recommendations, a bit of collegial advice to share, and many, many commendations. For us, you know, we're academics. For us, this is the equivalent of getting an A+ or graduating summa cum laude. But we always like you to feel good about your community college, and I wanted to make sure that you started this discussion feeling good about us. And so with that, I would like to ask our chair, J.D. Urbach, to join me, please.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Kirkinitis. Very briefly, I wanted to thank the members of the County Council for their continued support of CCBC. I'm in my 5th year as a trustee with the college, my 1st year as chair. What an honor it is really to represent all 15 of our trustees here today addressing you. You know, it's easy growing up in Baltimore County and living in Baltimore County to take for granted what a national model institution we have in terms of our community college here in Baltimore County. CCBC really is, as I have found, a leader in the nation, a model that other community colleges look to, both across Maryland and across the nation. And we're certainly very fortunate to have Dr. Kurtinitis at the helm. And I do share that with her just often enough so that she doesn't look elsewhere and or look to
Not to worry.
head out.
Not to worry.
And so I know that she's very excited about the funding of the CADE formula, as we certainly are as well. And again, I think you're all very well aware of it, but I just wanted to reiterate what a gem, what a wonderful, stellar institution that Baltimore County has in CCBC. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I would say the essence of our message lies in the fact that we've managed COVID as well or better than almost any other institution. We built the protocols to continue no matter whether the Omicron and its babies come back with a vengeance or not. But what's really important, I want to emphasize for all of you, because you always show us such strong support. And I know that you are proud of your college, but we've spent much of the past 2 years thinking about what we will look like when we come out of this pandemic. And I think in responding to a number of the auditor's questions, we've tried to make that point. We were not asleep, not asleep waiting for this, the prince to come and kiss us on the lips. We've actually planned very purposefully what we will look like as the pandemic ends, and we look to you to help us support that. So please, we're very happy to answer any questions or any comments you wish to make.
Well, I appreciate you being here, Dr. Kurtinitis, and I think we all are very, very impressed with the community college, and we certainly congratulate you for an excellent, clean bill of health in terms of the accreditation. And if you could be so kind, if you can just go ahead with the items of discussion that the auditors provided, and then we'll follow up with some questions.
I mean, there are about 8 items. Would you like us to walk down the list, or would you like to perhaps ask the council
I think it would
members?
probably be helpful to just go down the list. You can be sort of quick with it.
Okay.
And we
let
can
me start
follow up with some questions.
Let me begin, and as we go along, if someone has a question, and of course we have our finance team here and Melissa and all of our vice presidents, so answers can be easily arrived at. The stimulus funding is a story of really spectacular nature. We have one more year of stimulus funding, and the important thing is that we've been able to launch through these 2 years of COVID and into this coming year a tuition-free initiative that has meant that 84% of all of our students, credit, non-credit, full or part-time, have been able to receive either full or partial scholarships to study at the Community College of Baltimore County. Our teams have been very creative in how we manage that money. We've used stimulus money in every way possible. We've used it to help students pay their debt. We have used it to provide tuition and fee assistance. We've used it to provide targeted awards for encouraging certain students to complete, to stay with us and to complete. And one of the nice things about this is that we've been able to use this stimulus money to build the COVID protocols that have enabled us to stay open almost from the beginning of the pandemic. And we've also been able to deploy stimulus funds to recapture lost revenue. All of that has been an extraordinary gift, and we've been extraordinarily grateful because some of it has come from the state, some has come from the county, some has come from the federal agencies. I can pause there, and if there's a question on that, we can attempt to answer it.
Now, we certainly appreciate all you're doing with the College Promise program. and keeping tuition low. And, you know, it makes a difference in the lives of people here in Baltimore County and their families. So we appreciate that. Any questions or comments from the members? And we'll keep going for now, Dr. Kurtenitis. And we may, depending on the time, I may interrupt you and just stop it cold, and we'll go to questions from the members. But go right ahead.
Sure, sure. So there is a question that relates to enhanced state aid, and as we just said, we got grins on our faces as wide as they can be, because the K formula will be fully funded in this coming year. That's been on the way for a long, long time. It's now finally happened. But as we look at what we do with that extra 4.4 million in contingency funding that we've set aside, just in case we don't meet our what we're calling our enrollment management battle plan, we're determined to come out of this pandemic with a fury. So we've identified a number of special enrollment growth topics, and those enrollment growth topics, by and large, are working with K through 12 with the Blueprint for Education, increasing the opportunities for students to, high school students to finish both a degree and a diploma at the same time. We are highlighting and growing our online programming. We've built incredible capacity in that area, and we believe that one way to augment our income over the coming years will be to extend our online capacity really across the nation and across the world to give us better revenue chances of supporting Baltimore County residents. We are also just now engaging in a pretty significant new transfer initiative. All of these are enrollment initiatives that we're going to spend some of this enrollment stabilization money on, and we intend to capture at least 1,000 more FTE in this coming year. It is no secret that across the country, community college enrollments have been dropping, and there are a lot of reasons for that, given the people that we serve. So we've set our sights on either stabilizing our enrollment and slowly beginning to grow it again, and we're going to invest in some very significant ways to make that happen, both in staffing and in resources. Now, if that target is not met, we will certainly need those funds to actually continue our just continue to support our institution in the ways that expanded money would have. As far as vacancies, everybody is aware of what the Great Resignation has prompted. We are not immune to that. I am sure the county is experiencing that same strain. But because we are coming out of the pandemic with a strong and forceful strategic initiative, we know that we are going to be able to take advantage of vacancies, either to fill them as we need them in a traditional way, or to use those vacancies to better support these new initiatives that we are launching. Our new HR director has built a significant platform for streamlining the search process, and we're looking at this as an opportunity. We're actually not worried about it. We think that we've got good people in most places, and we're going to add more good people to be able to serve our students better across this whole institution. We have some pretty significant student success initiatives underway. We'll be hiring more advisors, more tutors, more people who we will wrap around students as they do their work in their classrooms. Shall I pause again? Maybe somebody's got a question.
Yes, yeah. What we're going to do? We're going to go to Councilman Quirk now. Councilman Quirk.
Thank you, Chairman Jones, and I just want to echo some of the earlier comments, and I think I speak for everyone on the council, although, yeah, obviously I know each of us, I think, totally agree that CCBC, I think by far is one of our best departments, and I think it truly has one of our best leaders, Dr. Kurtenitis, President and Dr. Kurtenitis. I really think you've just done such an exceptional job since you came in from day one. And I talked to all the council members. I think we all really feel that strongly. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for your service and your leadership, and of course all the good people that you surround yourself with. They're all top notch. And my only question, I know it's on number 10, the capital budget. Mostly more curious on the plans and timeframes. But that's a super easy, quick one, and I know some of it's still to be determined. And then later, I wouldn't mind. I'm sure a lot of the council members that are fortunate to have CCBC kind of campuses in their districts. I wouldn't mind just getting just a brief update at some point, maybe just an email, my council email, on more things that are specific to CCBC Catonsville, just to kind of understand kind of where things are at on the different projects and on the specific issues at CCBC Catonsville. But that's all. Thank you, and thanks to the board as well. Really grateful that we have CCBC, especially in some of these crazy times our country's gone through. It gives a lot of people that couldn't afford college a really good opportunity with wonderful professors and wonderful people. So I think it's exceptionally good value with exceptionally good leadership. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councilman Quirk. I certainly support everything you said.
Let me say thank you also. It was lovely. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Let me go back for a second, Dr. Kurtenitis, and I'm going to ask you to be so kind to give me a call later today after we finish these budget hearings, because I do have a question about the wraparound services and additional counselors that you want to hire to help students stay in school and succeed. And to be in full disclosure, the reason I'm asking is because I have a student who reached out to me today who is saying, I want to stay in school. My grades are great, but I'm being asked to get out of this program. So when I hear that kind of story, I think there has to be more to this story, because I know that it is our focus and our job to keep these students in school so that they can succeed and do well in life. So when a person tells me some of the things she said, I'm not going to discuss them now, but they all seem to me on the petty side. And it didn't seem like it would be the kind of thing that we would ask a person to get out of a program for, especially if their grades were supporting what they're doing.
Sure.
I'll
So-
just give you that.
Yeah, so you're comfortable with perhaps after this meeting, or maybe tomorrow morning, if you're not available, Provost Martinez and I can give you a call and you can explain in detail what we need to know.
Okay, I appreciate that. Anything else from the members? I think it goes without saying that you provide an excellent service and you're changing lives, and there's no doubt about it in my mind. You provide a value on education. When we talking about bang for the buck or more bucks for the amount of time you put into school, I'm never going to take away or talk bad about education, but I think you provide a valuable service where a person can come and get a certificate or a degree in a couple of years' time and really change their lives. I think the latest thing I looked at was the truck driving program, and we had a young lady there on national television.
Yes, indeed.
About her experience and how
Yes.
CCBC changed her life in terms of getting a CDL license.
That's right. That's right.
So,
And that young woman went from making minimum wage at any job she had to now driving a truck for Pepsi and making $23 an hour. That's exactly what you just described. Yes.
excellent. That's
Yes.
great for her. It's great for the family. It's great for
Mr.
the
Chair.
economy. And yes,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I get excited about CDL drivers.
I'm a CDL. I am a CDL. I have one.
Well, Dr. Kurtenitis, did this young lady, did she come through the program and the facility
Yes.
down at Trade Point?
Absolutely. The facility that you helped us get, I remember that meeting way, way, way back, probably about 5 years ago, when you brought us all together and you said, we gotta do something here. Yes, we are proudly graduating CDL truck drivers on a regular basis, and the program is so popular, especially since we've been able to get so much scholarship funding to support this. But the program is so popular, it's already enrolled all the way up into the fall.
Well, that is it's so refreshing to hear an actual success story on this program that I know that you worked very hard to establish, and we can thank our partners at Trade Point for hearing us out and helping to make that happen. Can we get part of the curriculum in that CDL program to teach the drivers not to drive their trucks where they're not supposed to?
We're doubting that those are our students, but
Oh, okay.
listen, we done good in this. This is the way I think the county council and the college can work together. It just is a beautiful story, and we have even greater expansion plans for the way we're going to be able to serve the companies that are now at Trade Point. So it's
Right.
pretty significant and it's pretty exciting.
You know,
Right.
Councilman Crandall, one of the things that blew my mind, okay, and putting this whole thing in perspective, we are giving away, we have a college promise program where students can go virtually tuition free to the community.
That's right.
We've continued to fund money to push it beyond to include more students. And as it relates to the CDL program, again, many students can show up and pay nothing. And we're getting to a point where it's like, I want to scream it at the top of my lungs about all the opportunities we are providing for young people and old people alike here in Baltimore County. And I'm at a point where I'm saying, hey, listen, it's just hard to believe you cannot succeed when we're giving you so many opportunities for free or tuition free here in Baltimore County. And to me, that's just an absolutely positive, wonderful thing. And it just removes all the barriers. Maybe not all the barriers, but certainly, you know, we can't brush your teeth for you in the morning, but we'll give you all of these things. The rest is on you.
Well, we love your passion.
Yes, absolutely. And any additional questions or comments? I was just looking at my screen and I was pulling up I think Channel 11 did a program, but I thought it was a national program, the one that I saw with the young lady. It was I forget the name of the one. What program was it?
CBS.
It was CBS, it was Nora O'Donnell who was the interviewer. And we put her in a truck and she drove around.
Okay.
She didn't hit anybody, she didn't crash.
Good.
But it's a powerful story. Actually, you know what? We'll send that video again. It's about 4 minutes long, but it tells the story that what you were just saying so eloquently. It tells that story in real life.
Well, that's good because we're very, very happy for that young lady. And hey, it's a wonderful story, you know, and it's true. And I'm sure it's being repeated time and time again.
Yes, indeed. And you know, very soon on June 4, we will be graduating another probably 2,000-3,000 students. All of these new nurses and HVAC technicians and computer experts and dancers. And I mean, every year, that's what CCBC gives to Baltimore County, about somewhere between 10 to 11, 13,000 graduates and completers who finish something important to themselves and their family.
You're
So
talking
we're
100
we're just
how many
grateful.
programs, Dr. Kurtenitis? 110
Sorry.
programs? How many programs?
Number of programs for us.
Credit programming, just about 200.
Just about 200 credit programs and several hundred short-term credentials on the continuing ed side.
That's a one.
What I so appreciate, we all appreciate, is that you know the value of your community college. And that's why we're here today saying, please help us support the proposed budget, and we will do a lot of good with it.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments? I'm gonna go to the auditor now. I know we went off script and we took a detour, but are there any items that you want to address specifically? Lauren, Liz,
All is good.
all is good? Did we
Thank you,
answer?
Dr. Kurtenitis.
Well, thank you.
Fantastic.
We always feel blessed when we get these where there are no recommendations for reductions. And I know that those auditors do a great job of pushing us to just say what we need to say and show that we're honest about it. So
Good. All right, last call. Any questions or comments? Thank you very much, Dr. Kurtenitis. We certainly appreciate you and your team coming today, and I look forward to hearing from you today or tomorrow.
thank you. Okay, bye now.
All right, thank you. And I guess we're moving on.
Economic and Workforce Development is next. I have Raven Vincent from my office who will give the overview of the budget for us.
Okay.
Good afternoon. The proposed fiscal year 2023 budget for the Department of Economic and Workforce Development totals $22 million, a decrease of $3.4 million or 13.3% from the fiscal year 2022 budget. The general fund portion of the budget totals $1.9 million, an increase of $194,000 or 11.1%. Primarily due to the expansion of personnel costs under the Workforce Development Program. The special fund portion of the budget totals $20.1 million and decreases by $3.6 million or 15.1%, primarily due to one-time fiscal year 2022 federal and state grants, offset by an increase in economic development revolving financing fund contingency authorizations for fiscal year 2023. On page 3, the pie chart shows how the proposed funding will be allocated. Revolving financing fund authorizations, colored in blue, account for almost half of the budget, with the last payments for Towson Row scheduled for fiscal year 2023, along with some new contingency funding on top of the usual fund allocations. Workforce development grant programs, shown in burgundy, account for the next largest slice of the pie, and the remaining costs include general fund costs for economic and workforce development, as well as the tourism program, which is the main component of the orange slice. On page 4, significant changes in the budget are summarized in a bit more detail, reflecting the drivers of the budget increases and decreases. Beginning on page 5, the analysis identifies the budget's new uses of funds. Notably, you will see towards the bottom of page 5 that the budget includes nearly $900,000 in special funds to cover temporary help wages for stepped-up youth employment programs. The budget anticipates that these programs will not be limited to summer and rather will be year-round. The various new costs are listed in the section titled Potential Budget Reductions only to reflect that there is flexibility within the proposed budget, and actual reductions emerging from this discussion would represent policy decisions and would not be reflective of budgeting errors or calculation issues. On pages 6 through 8, the analysis describes the previously adopted federal ARPA, American Rescue Plan funds available to address negative economic impacts from the pandemic. The analysis notes that the county may utilize significant amounts of previously appropriated grant funding during fiscal year 2023, and there are some discussion points for the department and the administration about the county's plans for leveraging those funds. Other topics of discussion, continuing on page 8, include the county's major redevelopment projects at Trade Point Atlantic and Security Square Mall. On page 9, personnel costs. And beginning on page 10, the tourism program, which begins the presentation on all of the county's organizational grants. You will see that the grants are summarized on various pages from page 11 through page 16. At this time, I'm happy to turn it over for discussion.
Well, Miss Vision, is that right? Vision? Did I get that right?
Vincent.
Vincent. Okay, I'm sorry, Miss Vincent. Raven Vincent, before we turn it over, let me just take this opportunity to welcome you to Baltimore County. I don't know how long you've been working here, but I know this is the first time you come before us. So I'm assuming it's within the last year.
It's within the last month. I just joined.
Well, listen, we thank you so much. You did an absolutely fantastic job. And I'm going to ask my colleagues to indulge me and just give you a hand clap, a nice little.
Oh, thank you so much.
We thank you so much for being here, and we welcome you to Baltimore County. You did a great job, and welcome. So
thank you.
You're welcome. Now we will turn it over for discussion. Any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, I guess we'll move on to Director Leonard Howard.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. It's a pleasure to be here. First, I'd just like to thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for being so supportive to this department, especially during the short time that I've been here, only since November of 2020. So time is marching along, but I think we've done a lot of good work together, and I know in my heart that we are one of your favorite departments because, as you say repeatedly, we spend other people's money. So
you give an awful lot of it away.
That's right. So our pull on the county is not that steep. So we actually absolutely enjoy what we do. 2 points I'd just like to raise before we get going. First of all, as you all well know, when you look at our budget, and sometimes when I look at it, I have to scratch my head and say, wait, is this us? Is this this department? Because our department really does share the economic development mission with so many offices and agencies within the department. And I think Ms. Vincent did an outstanding job on really capturing that. And I think as representative of that, I think you'll see on your screen that if there are any really detailed questions that really do touch upon some of the other offices or entities that operate some of these programs, they are available to jump in and add to the conversation. But we are proud of our mission, and we definitely look forward to the conversation on what we're doing. I think as we're approaching FY23, there's one theme that comes to mind, and that's re-engaging. Coming out of this pandemic, and we've talked about this in some of our normal council hearings, just kind of where are the employees? You know, where's the workforce? Where are they? We don't see them. The employers don't see them. From the employer standpoint, they didn't see a lot of customers for a while. Many sectors. So it's like, where is everybody? The businesses weren't really that engaged because, as we all know, we're just trying to survive, the downturn in resources, downturn in revenues that were coming in. And then we also know that we run the tourism portion of for the county, and we know that there was a major pause in just being able to get out and be together. So I think overall our theme, and I think this is reflected in our budget requests and just some of the activities that we're doing, it is really centered around reconnecting with the job seekers, being far more proactive than we've been, getting away from the how would I say the brick and mortar concept of, hey, we have some services. Why don't you come in and talk to us? It's understanding that we need to go out, be more proactive, to implement strategies that really require us to go out there and do that. Similarly, on the business side, and I think this is visible in some of the personnel requests, additions. We have 11, 12 members of our business development team. When you compare that to other counties, Prince George's, Montgomery County, they're in the high 30s. So we have, by I guess by function, being in the mode of as responsive as we possibly can, but knowing that we need to start that effort to get out there and reach. We don't need to get to those numbers, but we need to get to the processes and the approaches of going out and making sure that we are being true advocates of the resources that we do have, that we do marshal, that the loans, everything that we provide, that all the business community knows about what we do. And as far as tourism, it is really exciting where we are right now. The flexibility that a lot of the RP funding has provided, the partnerships. I think you would, if you don't hear it today, you will see it in all of the writing. The concept of regionalism is really alive and well in the tourism aspect, especially. We have some major events coming up this summer. The World Championships in Women Lacrosse is being hosted at Towson University, and we're playing a significant part in that. And of course, we have the Maryland Cycling Classic, world-class cycling, cyclists from all around the world coming Labor Day weekend to have a 120-mile road race. Starting in the Sparks area and about 70 miles through the county, finishing in the city. So all of the coordination that's really requiring us to really get out there, be visible, and doing our jobs. So that's really the context that I think our budget request has been presented, and I look forward to responding to any questions directly. And obviously, if any matters come up that are again beyond what our core activities are and do, there are other partners on the call that can chime in.
Okay, thank you, Director Howie. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Well, I guess I'm gonna get things. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to ask a question that my colleagues from the east side have been asking, but I guess it's my turn to start asking this. What is being done to better market our terrific waterfront attractions? As I go through Middle River and all those communities on the waterfront, they're absolutely gorgeous and such a gem in Baltimore County. What ideas do you have in terms of better marketing the east side?
Well, one thing that I know that we've been doing and that we're going to do more of is really taking advantage of the print and visual media to make sure that it's out there. I think one of the first things we did when I arrived, the big billboard that's on 83 as you're heading either to or from the city, we started putting up signs there, putting up messages there, and we started getting some positive hits. So I think what we're really seeing is that it's that same message that I started with: being proactive, being out there, clearly communicating. I mentioned the cycling event for a reason other than just to kind of showcase that cyclists are coming. If you've ever watched a Tour de France event or other major cycling event, there's a helicopter that travels with the peloton, and they're taking footage. They're shooting live shots, but they're also cutting back to the broadcast crew, and they are talking about the features of the region. So we know we have a wonderful opportunity to present all of the wonderful things that we do have in the county, and we get some what I would consider great free advertising worldwide, where as long as we give them the appropriate scripts and point their cameras in the right direction, they'll have actual footage and talking points about that. So that's just an example of some of the things that we're going to do to make sure that we get the word out.
So Director Howie, I'm sorry, Councilman Mark, one quick question. Did I hear you say you're going to ask for a helicopter to follow the bicyclists? Because I'm looking at an increase of $1.5 million in tourism program.
Mr. Chair,
I'm just wondering if that's enough to get a helicopter.
It's not our
helicopter.
helicopter.
What the helicopter is going to look like?
It's not our helicopter.
They need more than $1.5 million. I'm just
No.
saying. You sure?
Fortunately, we don't have. It's not our helicopter. We don't have to incur that expense.
I heard wrong. I thought somebody helicopters.
No, we're not gonna purchase a helicopter.
Go ahead, Councilman Marks. I apologize.
No problem. No problem. I just think we need to do whatever we can to market these areas of the county that sometimes not attacking this administration, but sometimes previous county administrations haven't focused on when they're doing their tourism budgets. So,
well, I'll just add that. Listen, I love Baltimore County. We have a beautiful county.
We do.
We have an awful lot to be proud of and boast about, and try to attract people to come here and, spend the day and spend their money and keep our economy going. So I think the money that we spend in economic development in terms of tourism program is money well spent. And you're right not to beat up on anybody, but previous administrations hasn't done as much as they should have. And I applaud the administration for adding $1.5 million. That's a good start. Any additional questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman Patoka.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Howie. Just a question, and it's kind of a spin-off of Councilman Mark's question, just from a different angle, not related to the waterfront, but related to our inner beltway commercial corridors. All of this, many of the streets that emanate from the city center, the arterials, and radiate throughout Baltimore County, the commercial corridors seem to be struggling, especially those inner beltway neighborhoods, or commercial corridors, I should say. And, Reisterstown Road for me in the 2nd district, Liberty Road in the new 2nd district. Do we have a strategy? The Pikesville Armory has great potential. Do we have a strategy from the DEWD to address the commercial corridors, inner beltway commercial corridors?
Thank you for that question, Councilmember. This is a prime example of how the entire county infrastructure really works together. As I mentioned at the beginning, there are so many departments and offices that are engaged in this very topic. I'll start with just the very nature of the ARP opportunities that are presented. The county executive has, as you know, he tasked me initially with leading the sub-cabinet work on generating the ideas for the ARP funding opportunities. Great ideas. That process has progressed to the point now that as a county, we are really close to really pressing go on a lot of these initiatives. They're published on the website. They're all there. But what this really did was it allowed us to take some time and to think about the best ways to approach some of the core challenges that we have. You mentioned the just those commercial corridors. We know that Department of Planning, they manage our revitalization programs, making sure that businesses get money into their coffers so they can make the improvements that they need in the streetscapes and in their facades and in the like. We manage the programs that help businesses buy the equipment that they need so they can operate. But overall, we had this concept that really allows us to embrace the concept of equity and community equity districts, to start with the assessment really that some communities, some corridors have bigger challenges than just getting streets paved or getting signs put up. So the fact that there was, I think it's $2.5 million of ARP money in the budget that's specifically geared toward bringing on people, whether they're staff or consultants, but bringing on people who can help us start with those conversations to determine what the best strategies are. What we did hear loud and clear, and I think this was really evidenced in just the very nature of the county executive's budget town hall meetings, and quite frankly, every other public engagement that we have. We don't sit in our buildings and just in our offices and just come up with things. We engage the public in that. So a big part of our ARP process, ARP funded process moving forward is to continue to get that, have that public engagement. I know you've been engaged with the Department of Planning's master planning process. So these are all official tools that we have to bring together the crafting of the vision. I think one of the more exciting things for us right now is that for the first time in I can't tell you how long, with the ARP funding, we can actually do these things, without a major draw from the county budget. So really the sky's the limit. But yes, the plans are being developed. In some cases, they are in place, but the approaches are really what we spent a lot of time on in the early ARP discussion process to ensure that we can get to where you just indicated we should be.
One of the challenges is that many of these streets are state highway. So they're really controlled by another governmental entity. So we can't really do the major work that's necessary. We can only do the window dressing, if you will, because they're not our streets, they're the state streets. And, we do, for example, I know the county executive put, maybe $250,000 into some streetscaping, but it's really on the sides because the street itself is state highway. So I know that that's a huge challenge. I think it's something, we need to bear down on moving forward because it's really easy to have our attention drawn to the newest and shiniest objects in the outer suburbs. But I still think we need to have strong focus on our inner beltway communities as well.
Right. And I think Ms. Vincent mentioned the word leverage in her opening comments, but just as we worked in partnership with the state on the county executive did in getting the additional support for Security Square Mall, for example, we will continue to lean on the good work of our delegation, quite frankly, to assist in that process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Stoker. Any additional questions or comments? Lauren, has the Director Howie answered your concerns?
Yes, thank you, Director Howie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Director Howie, I'm here to tell you, I heard you talk about what other jurisdictions have. And listen, I really appreciate the work you and your staff do, the work you have done. I talk about it. You're right. I talk about us giving away other people money. But the reality is this. There's different ways to do that. There are some jurisdictions, and I won't mention any names, that receive monies just as much as we, yet they put in so much bureaucracy that the money did not get to where it needed to go. And then the people were suffering as a result. So I think we had the correct approach and utilized the correct safeguards to make sure that the money that we receive from the federal government and state and other places were getting to the restaurants, businesses who need it the most during the pandemic. And that kept people in business, and they invested their life savings and it kept people employed, and all of that is good. And I would love to see us, double our efforts, because at the end of the day, it's the economy, it's the economy, it's the economy. And these are the things, we focus a lot of attention on police. We focus a lot of attention on police. But other than those analysts and these other police officers, they don't create jobs other than those positions. Jobs, a good economy fixes a lot of social issues. I'm a firm believer that if you give a person a decent job, a decent opportunity, a decent business, it's going to pay dividends with that person, their family, give their children somebody to look up to and emulate and model and move forward, and they can buy all the things and frequent the nice restaurants. So it's the economy, stupid. You know, it's the economy. So I don't want us to go so far as to invest tons of money in police and other things and us forget about economic development. And that's why I say, hey, I'm perfectly okay with us, you know, getting more people there in economic development and workforce development, because those are the things important. Did I mention, we didn't mention the summer jobs program for our youth. Why don't you just tell us all about a little bit about the summer job program? I think it's an excellent idea. We're going to pay those kids $15 an hour, and they're going to learn some valuable skills. But I don't want to take your thunder. Go ahead. Keep talking.
It's that time of year. It's time for our youth in the county to be engaged in some formal work opportunities and instruction. Just last weekend, last Saturday morning, we had our first orientation for the young job seekers and their parents or other adult caregivers on the call. We had a little bit over 1,200 youth apply for summer positions. We believe there are going to be about 400 positions that are going to be spread between mostly out in the private sector, but a lot of the county agencies as well. So about 400 positions will be out there, and we'll be able to help make those matches. That's our role as the department, to help make the matches to the employers. And as you indicated, Mr. Chairman, paying that $15 an hour. There are other opportunities for the youth who are not going to be able to obtain summer employment and they don't have any other job to look forward to. Just like last year, our great partners at CCBC, they're going to help us with the career exploration program, where the students will still get paid to do that work. So there'll be a smaller number of youth doing that, but that's going to be another great opportunity. So we're looking forward just to the process of placing as many as we can. The second orientation, by the way, is this coming Saturday morning. There's a WebEx for that. And then the procedures after that are really geared toward making sure we have all of the documentation that we need from the kids, and then starting that matching process. We do have an orientation session with the employers as well coming up. So we're in full force. We're getting ready for that. And one thing that's in our budget that you've seen referenced in some positions, the county executive really wants us to, and very supportive of us expanding to year-round opportunities. And that's in addition to the in-school youth program that BCPS provides for us and the out-of-school youth program that CCBC provides for us. We know that the demand is there. The kids are there, and our job is to really get out there and make those connections with the employers to help to find these kids some opportunities.
Well, listen, I thank you so much. And I thank the county executive for his efforts in support of the program and implementing the program, because it broke my heart to have to tell a parent or two that their kids were not eligible for employment in the city because there was a city program. This happened right after the riots in the city, and you know, they came out with some programs to give kids employment opportunities. These kids lived in a zip code that's shared with the city, and they applied and they went through the process, but at some point they realized they were county residents, and they told them they could not work. And they were devastated, and they looked at me and said, how come we're not doing something? And, you know, what can I say? But, you know, it was sad to say what I had to tell them, but I'm glad we're there now, thanks to the county executive.
And Mr. Chairman, I'll be remiss to say that at last week's orientation, you know who spent the entire time on the call answering questions. our county administrative officer, Ms. Rogers. She was there. She really does lead that charge, and that just shows us, helps to really enforce with us just how important that youth mission is. And we do not take it lightly, and we look forward to this time every year.
Well, I'm here to tell you, I'll put a plug in for our county administrative officer as well. I have been with her when we were out doing work for the census. I've been with her as we were out doing testing and vaccinations. And she gets around, she rolls up her sleeve, she dives in, and you can see her anywhere, help distributing food, really diving in, working hard to make things work. And to be honest, I think that's the beauty, and I'll give the county executive credit and the chief administrative officer. That's the beauty of the team spirit that we have in the county. Whereas when there's a function that needs to happen, it's all hands on deck to make that happen. When you went out there to that COVID site where we were giving testing and providing vaccines, you will see members of the fire department there, the police department there, the health department there, other members throughout the county. We gave an opportunity for anybody in the county who wanted to work at one of those test sites, because we needed people to get permission from their supervisor and then go do that for additional money. I mean, listen, this is a team approach, and I guess I'm really happy with it. Now, Director Howie, we need to get you some more people so you can do some more things. You're doing a great job. Any additional questions or comments from the members? Again, like I said, you did a great job during COVID. You continue to do a great job. I'm very happy about the summer program, happy about everything you're doing. And tourism is very important. So you're doing a great job. We just want to get you, maybe, how many people you have in your department? 10, 11? How many?
In the entire department? 64.
And how many
in the entire department? 64.
How many more do you need?
Oh, I'll have to get back to you on that one.
All right. Scared money can't win, Director Howie. I learned that with that. Scared money can't win. Scared money
I understand.
can't win. Just remember that.
I will remember that.
Any questions or comments from the members? All right. Look, I thank you for coming out. Appreciate your team. We thank Ms. Benson, our new member, and I believe this is going to do it for us today. There's no other comments. We'll adjourn. One once, one twice. Thank you, Director Howie. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You as well, sir.
Mr. Chairman, we appreciate your support.
Well, we thank you, Ms. Rogers, for all the hard work you do. You roll up your sleeve and jump right in there.
Thank you.
Might see you anywhere.
Absolutely. Have a good evening, everyone.
All right.
Have a good evening.